Hello and welcome to Lunchtime Politics on television. I'm Millicent Walker. On the news this hour, Nigeria's head of judiciary, Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Walter Onnoghen, absent as trial commences on the allegations of non-declaration of assets. Proceedings adjourned until next week. And INEC releases the guidelines for the 2019 elections amidst controversies and agitations from some political parties. Over 50 vehicles have been damaged after violence occurred during a political gathering in Onnoghen as both the All Progressives Congress, AD People's and the People's Democratic Party trade blames over the incident. Welcome everyone to Lunchtime Politics. Now, since the news broke about petitions against the Nigeria's judiciary head, Justice Walter Onnoghen, it has been intense legal debate, and the day has come. But the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Walter Onnoghen, is absent at the Code of Conduct Tribunal as his trial for a 6-count charge bordering on alleged failure to declare his assets begin. The CJN is represented by 71 lawyers led by Mr. Wole Olanipekun, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, while 45 out of that number are senior advocates as well. The prosecution is led by 5 lawyers led by Aliyu Umar, SAN, who is the only senior lawyer in that team. The charges against the CJN are based on a petition signed by the Executive Secretary of the Anti-Corruption Research Database Initiative, Dennis Aganya. The petition alleges, amongst other things, that the CJN failed to declare ownership of sundry accounts funded through cash deposits made by himself up to August the 10th, 2016. In the meantime, it appears the CJN, Justice Walter Onnoghen, may have listened to the advice of 5 out of the governors that make up the South-South Governors Forum, who asked him not to honor the summons from the Code of Conduct Bureau. Well, the governors of Akwa Ibom, Bayelsa, Cross River Delta and River State all condemned the trial of the Chief Justice of Nigeria, saying it is a step aimed at intimidating and embarrassing the nation's #1 judicial officer. Only Governor Godwin Obaseki of the ruling APC was absent at the meeting.
We know further that this action critically undermines confidence, not only in the judiciary of our country as an institution, but it also undermines confidence in the electoral process that has already commenced, in view of the pivotal role that the judiciary plays in the process of electoral adjudication. We affirm that President Muhammadu Buhari knows that the continuous assault on critical institutions of state is a defining feature of a dictatorship, not of a democracy, and that the president is obliged to live up to his word that is a born-again Democrat, as he has assured all Nigerians since assuming office 2015.
Let's get more perspective on some of the latest developments on the trial of Justice Walter Onnoghen. We have a lawyer in the studio, Mr. Sonny Awunuga. A pleasure to have you on Lunchtime Politics today.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon.
What is the implication of Justice Onnoghen's absence first at the Code of Conduct Tribunal?
Well, it has nothing to do with the advice from the governors of the South-South. I believe it's a strictly legal position. Now, a party who is objecting to the jurisdiction of the court has a right to be absent from the proceedings as long as it's represented. His argument is, this is a non-starter. You can't bring me here, irrespective of whether the merits of whatever you say you are bringing up against me, but this court has no jurisdiction to try me. And I think precisely that is the reason why the Honorable Chief Justice decided to be absent. It had nothing to do with the advice of the South-South governors. His lordship is not a politician.
What are your thoughts on the issue of jurisdiction, Code of Conduct Tribunal on one hand vis-a-vis the National Judicial Council?
Now, this is really the way it is. Like I said, the issue, the question first asked me, the Supreme Court has an authority, the case of Akilu. Then also recently, which the Court of Appeal has upheld in the Baker's case, that a party who is contesting the jurisdiction of the court can opt to be absent as long as it's represented. Now, what you are saying, the issue of jurisdiction, why this is like this is people are referring to a case popularly called the Nganjiwa case. Honorable Justice Nganjiwa, as it then was, when, of course, it was a subject of a criminal proceedings. The matter got to the Court of Appeal. But unfortunately, there are two sides to the interpretation. The popular one is the one everyone is aligning against in favor of. That Court of Appeal has said, oh, a judicial officer who is accused of impropriety or misconduct in the course of his, performance of judicial functions must, first of all, be reported to the NJC. But also, the same Court of Appeal, if you read that judgment, I won't say regrettably or creditably, they put it in there is not everything that qualifies to come in that perspective. A lot of people are ignoring that. I'm not saying the ruling is faulty or the ruling is sound, but if you check the same judgment we're talking about in Nganjiwa, there's a portion where the Court of Appeal said, no, this should not be interpreted to mean a blanket thing for all judicial officers. Oh, every little thing, oh, you must come to NJC, you must come to NJC.
How would you apply that to what the Chief Justice is facing at this point?
Now, the issue, again, there are two ways to interpret it. Now, are you going to say what is being brought against his lordship has to do with regards to the performance of his judicial functions, or we are strictly looking at it in the layman's context that the CCB envisages, that is a public officer? If we're saying he's a public officer, the issue of going to the NJC doesn't arise. But if we look at it as a judicial officer, of course, the NJC must first of all find him guilty of misconduct before any other body. So that's the issue that I think will most likely come up at the tribunal for interpretation, whether the action in question applies to him as a public officer or whether as a judicial officer. It's when that is sorted, that is when we can know the cause.
So if we look at the popular opinion, what you said with regards to the NJC, looking at perhaps what he has done as the judicial officer, some have said he chairs the NJC, being, you know, one can invoke nemo judet in casa, so it can be a judge in your own court. So what happens if that's the case? Of
course, our profession is a honorable and noble profession. If it gets to that stage, the Honorable Chief Justice will recuse himself, and somebody else, the next person in line, maybe Honorable Justice Tanko Mohammed, will be the one to head the NJC. They might even request him to absent himself completely from the proceedings, or if he's going to be there, they will say he wouldn't vote during the period, but he might have a right to observe because he's presumed innocent until proved guilty. But naturally, we know he won't head the body if it gets to that point. The thing, like I said, is a honorable profession. Nobody needs to tell us how to do it. We will run it in such a way that it will be clear to the general public that, oh, contrary to what they think, that maybe this is like a call like they know. We are very sure that the next thing that happens is the next person in line to his lordship, which is Honorable Justice Tanko Mohammed, will be the one to head the NJC at that time. And we can be sure, you understand, it's a body of a honorable men. Whatever decision they take, we in the profession will respect it, because we know it's going to be thorough.
In your experience of tribunals, how long does it take to really conclude a case? And one other question people are asking is, since the tribunal has begun, postponed to next week, does the CJ have to be docked to take a plea?
Of course, ordinarily, the thing there, like I said, now the first thing is, I didn't even get to see the proceedings today because I was on the road. But I'm assuming that the lawyers that are representing his lordship, the CJN, will be in court to bring the issue of a jurisdiction. That is why, of course, his lordship is absent, because he's legitimately absent. If you are contesting the jurisdiction of the court, like I said earlier, you have a right to be absent. But now the court will have to make a ruling, one way or the other, either to say, yes, we agree with you. Of course, which the party in question, that's the CJN's side, so to say, they have a right to appeal. But the challenge with that is that under the Administration of Criminal Justice Act, even if you appeal, it doesn't disturb proceedings. If the ruling, for instance, favors his lordship, then I think that's the end of the matter. We have to wait till the NJC takes a decision. But if unfortunately the tribunal decides that, oh, his lordship must go on and face a trial, it's going to be a nasty scenario in a way, because it might involve saying, oh, a bench warrant directing his lordship to appear, or maybe they just serve him that well. I haven't seen that the arena is against him. I know his lordship is a man of honor. He's the #1 judicial officer. He will present himself for trial. But what we're saying at this point in time, like everyone is complaining, it appears the timing is faulty. And also, like the NBA president rightly observed, you've got the petition on the 9th. By the 10th, you are drafted charges. By the 3rd day, you are in court. If that was the same speed with which all other matters are concluded, then we won't be here sitting.
All right, we'd like to thank you so
many
much.
Governors, senators, other big people out there whose trial has been hanging for decades, and nothing has happened.
Thank you for your thoughts.
Yes.
Sonia Onnoghen, legal practitioner, for coming on Time Politics.
Thank you.
Let's switch now and touch base with our correspondent who is covering the proceedings. We know that it's already been adjourned. Kayla, I believe Megwa, is standing by for us in Abuja. Hello, Kayla, if you can hear me. We hear that proceedings have been adjourned sometime next week.
Hi, Millicent. Yes, they have. The proceedings have been adjourned till Tuesday next week. That's the 22nd of January, and a new summons is going to be served on the Chief Justice of Nigeria by Wednesday. At least that was the solution that he got to, the resolution that he got to today here in court. Because the question was basically about the summons. Was it done properly? And the defense, can you hear me, Millicent? The defense counsel,
Kayla, go ahead. We can hear you. Go ahead. If perhaps I might also ask, we hear that over 20 senior advocates of Nigeria were cited earlier today. You know, part of the defense team of the justice.
That's happened today. The question was on whether the summons was done properly, and according to a registrar here at the court, it said the summons was given to the personal assistants of the Chief Justice of Nigeria.
Right, hopefully we will try to get a hold of Kayla to give us a summary of what transpired this morning in court. But in other news, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, they're releasing the guidelines for the 2019 general elections. The document will guide the conduct of the exercise. There have been agitations from the political circle as to some of the details of the guidelines. Some of the political parties have agitated that they don't want the simultaneous accreditation and voting system, which has always been employed by the Commission since 2016. Well, last week, the umpire says it will not follow the exact same process it used in 2015 for the 2019 elections, after some politicians started clamoring that INEC should separate voting and accreditation. INEC says it will employ the simultaneous voting and accreditation, where voters can accredit and vote at the same time. And still to come on Lunchtime Politics, the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, Atiku Abubakar, is expected to hit Ekiti State with his campaign today. We'll be finding out the latest ahead of that, plus the controversies over the usage of the venue and the split in the party between former Governor Fayose and Senator Olujimi. Find out more after the break.